So we're back, and we've been gone for quite a while. This is our first podcast since before COVID-19, if you can believe that. My name is Cam Andrews. This is the Cam and Chris podcast. We are back for episode number 6, and I am joined by my father, Chris Andrews, the one and only. Dad, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And what has happened since our last podcast?
Absolutely nothing.
I don't think that's a very popular answer to give.
Yeah, what are you listening to this show for?
Yeah.
Nothing's gone on.
Yeah.
We have nothing to talk about.
I don't think there's a person in the world who hasn't heard of COVID-19 or Corona or all the election drama and the political drama of the past year. We're going to be upfront about this. This is our comeback special. This is the election fraud comeback special, and we're going to talk all about election fraud, specifically with the 2020 presidential race, and with a topic that's so kind of big, it's kind of hard to know where to start. One thing I want to kind of connect into the conversation is COVID-19, because COVID, I believe, played a very big part in being a driving push for mail-in ballots,
Sure.
which I believe are one of the biggest ways to kind of commit electoral fraud. What are your thoughts on that, on COVID being used as like a political device?
Oh yeah. I think it definitely was. And you know, it was right from the beginning when I think it was Donald Trump, late February was when he banned flights from China.
Yep.
Of last year, 2020. And one of the first things that Joe Biden said at that point was that he was a xenophobe and
a
racist. And, you know, what are you banning flights from China? Well, then 2 months later, when the disease is, the virus is running rampant, then Joe Biden flopped. He flipped, and then he flopped, and then it was, he waited too long.
Yep.
So, you know, if you're Donald Trump, you know, you can't, you know, whichever way you go, it was wrong. And of course, the mainstream press didn't call Joe Biden on that, had no concerns about that because that's Joe Biden. And,
right.
You know, he's a Democrat. He can't
capable
do
of
wrong.
no wrong. You know?
Yeah. So, you know.
I have inside sources that I won't divulge. I sound like the Washington Post, right? Where it's like, hey, trust me, I have sources. I can't tell you who they are. So I hate to sound like one of those garbage rags. However, I do want to say that I do know people and have talked to people who I can confirm worked the election, whether it was helping to set up the buildings where they were having the voting booth set up, whether it was their job to count ballots, basically anybody who worked in and around the buildings that actually supported people coming in and voting or even just dropping off their mail-in ballots. There is so much shady activity that has gone on in terms of trucks pulling up at 2 or 3 in the morning and,
Sure.
and unloading boxes. And of course that video from, I believe it was Georgia, that went, well, it went viral. It went about as viral as a video like that can, because of course big tech, we've seen Facebook and Twitter especially are the biggest, and Google as well, committers of just kind of deleting that down the memory hole.
Yeah.
Anything that goes against the narrative.
A little side note on that, the video from Georgia where the four people were counting the ballots for, it was like an hour and 15 minutes they counted ballots. And
Yep.
I believe I seen a video of somebody analyzing that video, and they said, you know, like the person, they've got it, you know, there were, the funny thing is, you know, everybody, there was like a guy that was dressed in red, and there was a lady in yellow, and there was a lady in green. So, I mean, they were totally identifiable. You know, like the 4 or 5 people there, and it was like one guy and 4 women. But, you know, like, and this video was like, you know, that lady in the upper left-hand corner there, if you watch, she's going to finish in just a second. She's going to finish counting a batch. And when they spit it out, she's going to run them through again. Yeah. And then, you know, a few minutes later, and then, that lady in the upper, she's going to run it through again. So, you know, they're counting the same, you know, 100, 150, 200 ballots, You know, I think, and at the end of the video, that lady in the upper left, she counted that stack of 200 or whatever it was 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, so, but the reason I interjected was, you know, the quote unquote riot at the Capitol on January 6th.
Such a joke.
You know, they've got names of all these people, and they're still hunting people down.
They're still hunting people down for the January 6th. To be clear, we're talking about the January 6th quote unquote insurrection attempt.
Yeah, where no guns were brought, and
at the Capitol the Capitol building in D.C.
Yeah. So you know, the soon-to-be state, the District of Columbia, the soon-to-be state.
Yep.
You know, that one. But you know, they're still hunting those people down like, you know, they're mad dogs. We need to hunt them down. We need to kill them.
They're not hunting down the Antifa members and the Black Lives Matter members that were dressed up as Trump supporters. That actually
has
started.
Nothing to do with it.
You know what's interesting? You might have actually brought this up to me, is that while Donald Trump was still giving his Stop the Steal speech that day, January 6th,
they were already breaking in.
They were already breaking in. All the Trump supporters were there watching Trump speak because they are there for his message.
Yeah.
And I think this is absolutely insane that the mainstream media is that Donald Trump incited an insurrection, which was the Democrats' whole cause and justification for doing the second impeachment trial. And let me say this. The day of January 6th, Donald Trump put a message out. President Donald Trump put a message out on Twitter, a video, saying, "Stop the violence. This is not what we want. I understand that you're angry, but we can't go about it in a violent way, and you need to stop the violence, and you need to go home. God bless. Stay safe." Twitter removed that video and stated that he was calling for violence. And the thing is, and he tweeted like 5 other tweets calling for peace, saying stop, and they deleted those too and said that he was calling for violence. Mm-hmm. They never called for violence. The reason they deleted them is because they wanted violence.
Exactly.
They wanted people to go crazy. They wanted people to get killed. Mark Zuckerberg and the CEO Jack Dorsey of Twitter, they have blood on their hands because they wanted violence that day. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is the most powerful man in the world, and he's still one of the most powerful men in the world, even right now.
Which is why they impeached him a second time.
Which is why they impeached him. What is this? March 21st, 2021. He is still one of the most powerful men in the world, and it scares them.
My side note there was they're still hunting those people down. The FBI, all guns blazing. We need to get those guys. But the 4 or 5 people that were there in Georgia that were counting the votes there, after all the press, after they told the press that there was a water leak and we're shutting down and all operations are ceasing, and you watch that video, while the press is still standing off to the far left behind a barrier. But while the press is still over there, those 5 ladies, the 4 ladies and the guy are, they got the Windex out and they're squirting their tabletops and they're cleaning and they're cleaning the top of their monitors and their laptops and they're cleaning. And all of a sudden, the supervisor, when the final press person goes around the corner and is gone, door closes. All of a sudden, it's like suitcases come out. Windex goes away. Wham! And it's like, and it's like anybody that has the audacity to tell me that wasn't illegal is full of, and I won't use vulgarity, but effing blankety blank blank.
I've been trying to stop using vulgarity because I want to pursue a career in actual radio, so I'm kind of training myself. Anyway,
well, speaking of broadcasting,
you were saying.
Speaking of broadcasting, God bless Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, the golden microphone.
Got it. And hats off to him. I read an article after he passed away, and I read an article, and the guy said, what's the major difference between Rush Limbaugh and other conservatives, other Republicans, other broadcasters in that vein? Rush never sold out.
Yep.
So this big, long article, boil it down. Rush never sold out, and God bless him. Good for him, and
I actually feel kind of bad. I love the golden microphone. The golden microphone to me is like one of the most iconic things. And we are no longer, not to cross over into the music and radio scene, that's what my other show is for. But really briefly, you don't see a lot of conservative voices really get that big. especially as big as Rush Limbaugh was, and especially now because radio has kind of died. The golden era of radio is over. So to have a radio personality who's that big and recognizable, such as Joe Rogan or anything like that, Rush Limbaugh was the Joe Rogan of conservative talk radio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I definitely I feel kind of bad because there's so much content out there, and the simple reason that I never listened to Rush is because I was just listening to 20 other things, and inevitably there's going to be bands or podcasts or radio shows that you just never heard, not because you didn't like them, you just never got around to it. So unfortunately, I just never got into the loop of listening to Rush, but I definitely respect him, and he's a great guy, and he deserved that. The highest civilian honor. What was that? What is that called?
Yeah, the presidential citation or something.
Medal of
Freedom.
Medal of Freedom. I think
Okay,
it is the
yeah.
Medal of Freedom. The highest civilian honor you can get. President Trump gave that to him shortly. I think last year.
I think at the State of the Union address.
State of the Union address, which that State of the Union address. I think that Donald Trump's State of the Union address from 20.
I think that was
19?
2020.
2020 or 2019. I think
Yes.
it was 2019 or 2020. Anyway, that State of the Union address, the one where it was the one where they had all the female senator or congresswomen wearing the white.
Yeah.
That whole State of the Union, I think, will be studied by historians for decades to come because it clearly shows the divide in the country at the time that is still persistent today.
Oh, well,
It clearly shows
Oh,
it
yeah.
by seeing everybody in the room there.
Yeah.
And you'll notice those women in white, that people get up and clap whenever Trump says something, right? The only times they got up and clapped when it was something pertaining to them.
Yeah.
Selfish. Yeah. They are just horrible women like Ilhan Omar,
Well, the
Alexandria
thing- and
Ocasio-Cortez.
This, I don't know if this is a proper statement, but to me,
This is my show and you can say it.
okay. Well,
There you go.
I'm going to
Say
say it then. To me, a woman in white, that's marriage. A woman dresses in white.
Right.
Virginal.
Huh.
For those women
Oh, they ain't
to wear
virgins.
white.
They ain't virgins.
Well, to wear white of all colors, it's like, being pro-abortion. I could see them wearing white splattered in blood,
yeah.
show off that blood by,
Yeah.
wearing white. But
White is
of
kind of
all
like
colors.
purity. White is kind of like symbolizes purity almost.
Yeah,
and
for them.
Yeah.
So let's wear white. Who came up with that idea?
yeah.
White?
No.
How about burlap bags? How about steel?
How about a
how
hammer
about
and sickle?
plastic?
How about red with the hammer and sickle on it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Communist stars. on it.
Yeah, so I don't know. But white?
So, to kind of shift gears, let's talk about Mike Lindell.
Okay.
So, what do you think about Mike Lindell, Dad?
Well,
Which, for those of you somehow don't know, we don't know. There could be people listening to this 30 years in the future that have no idea who Mike Lindell is. So, who is Mike Lindell?
the My Pillow guy.
Yep.
And,
And before 2020, did anybody have a problem with Mike Lindell?
well, I don't think so. I've never been a fan of his, I must admit,
Okay.
because
Because?
when he does his own commercials, he's got one of his pillows there that he keeps shaking it. And I don't know, it's hokey.
How can you hate? He's a wholesome man.
And he is, I must admit. Now, do I own a My Pillow? I do not.
I want to buy one.
Which I need to buy one now.
Yeah.
So
Let's see.
so-
It might be the best pillow you've ever had.
And it might be, but I have my favorite pillow kind of a thing, and it's the right firmness, and it's the right consistency.
You're
and it's
gonna
the right
love my
size.
pillow. You're gonna love my pillow. He's
and
guaranteed it.
And I doubt that because I'm a very persnickety person. So that's why I've never bought one. So, but now, Mike Lindell now, it's just like that guy, the CEO of Goya.
Oh yeah, after
same-
CPAC. After
Yeah,
CPAC.
yeah, the same kind of a thing where all of a sudden he voices his free political opinion in America, and the left,
The mob
and
comes
mainstream media, all guns blazing, and we need to execute this guy. and including the congresswoman, what's her name? The acronym LCD
AOC.
or AOC.
Yeah, AOC.
Yeah, AOC comes after him, and of course, the quarterly sales of Goya go through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
And he declared quarterly, I think annual sales, they're still up. And I haven't bought any Goya yet. I need to.
Yeah.
I will. I will. I don't know, green beans, whatever. I'm gonna buy some Goya.
Yeah.
But he then declares AOC like the employee of the year, which I thought was awesome. Screw me? No, screw you. So yeah, she's the employee of the year, I believe.
It's crazy because this type of thing has been seen in the past in like China. It's seen in like North Korea, where the media tries to guide the masses in a certain direction.
Oh, definitely.
And to the point now where people think that this is a out of proportion statement by saying that we are getting more and more like communist China, we're getting more and more like Nazi Germany.
It's not out
because if as of right now, I guess legally we still have freedom, but socially there's a very big lack of freedom. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't matter if you did anything that was not illegal. So legally you might be in the right, but socially can be far much more, just as damaging, if not more damaging. Because rather than go to prison, rather than go to jail, you can have your bank account frozen. You can be banned from flights on all major airlines for life.
Yeah.
You can lose your job tomorrow and then be unable to find work.
Yeah.
You can have your name, your image, your family attacked. People will stalk outside your house. People will spit on you. People will say mean things to you. It's unbelievable, the persecution that happens to people who actually stand up and just saying, hey, I think something weird happened in the 2020 election. That'll get you banned on Twitter. It got Mike Lindell banned on Twitter. It got the Gateway Pundit banned on Twitter. We've seen all these people that are banned, and they say, well, the response from liberals is, of course, well, these are private companies, right? Facebook is a private company. They have terms and conditions. You read and agreed to them, so they can do with it as you please. The First Amendment doesn't necessarily apply to Facebook or Twitter because it's a private company. But the power that they have is so overreaching that it's...
As a private company, though, they are subject being an internet company. And I can't remember, it's like Section 230 or Section 270 of the FCC code, which is you are using the public airwaves. And actually, since it's the internet, not the public airwaves, but the cables that are subsidized by the federal government and the internet created by the federal government for communication. So there's rules that you are subject to. And one of them, under that Section 230, is you are a bulletin board, which other people are voicing opinions and ideas. And because you are a bulletin board, you are not liable financially to whatever they put on them. So on that bulletin board, so you cannot be sued because Mike Lindell makes a statement.
Right.
Which before they were under Section 230, you could be sued.
Yeah.
And so that was created. Well, the federal government under Donald Trump was going to reevaluate that because it was no longer a bulletin board because censorship, the Joe Biden's son's laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, was censored, and all of a sudden it's not a bulletin board anymore. Because it was hacked
material, quote unquote, but it wasn't hacked.
It wasn't hacked.
It was a laptop that had no password on it.
But remember, 50 leading FBI, CIA, NSA people, including the Brenner dude, the former head of the CIA, 50 people came out and said, this is classic Russian disinformation. Of course, after what's up with that Hunter Biden laptop today?
Oh.
Has anybody heard of it?
No.
No. You know why? Because the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, W-R-A-Y, the director of the FBI. Who was the director of the FBI under Donald Trump? He took possession of that laptop in, I believe it was December of 2019. So, and to me, this just, of all the things that we could talk about today, that blows my mind because the director of the FBI had that laptop with all of that stuff on it in December of 2019. When was Donald Trump impeached for the first time? About 2 months later, January of 2020.
Oh.
So the director of the FBI has a laptop that basically would prove that first impeachment was hokey, made up, lies, and cheat.
And not only that, but everything that they were accusing Trump of doing was actually committed by his political opponent.
Exactly. And it's all right there on the laptop. And guess who's sitting on it? The director of the FBI. So we still wouldn't know that the FBI has that laptop, except, that Rudy Giuliani got another copy because, the guy that gave the laptop to the FBI in December of 2019, all of a sudden it's like 9 months later, and they're releasing a report on the Ukraine, and the guy's like, well, wait a minute, I gave him a laptop with all this dirt on it, all that told that they're conjecturing all this stuff. It's all on there. Why aren't they mentioning this laptop? So then he's like, oh, well, the FBI's got it, but they're just kind of twiddling their thumbs. So I'm the president of the United States, and I'm impeached, and the director of my FBI is sitting on evidence that would have gotten me off?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm calling that guy today. It's like, tell me why I'm not firing you right now.
And of course, none of the fake news outlets are going to report on this.
Of course.
None of them.
But, I have always looked at things, no matter which side that I agree with, no matter which side, you always have to look at it from the viewpoint of, let's flip it the other way. And, if this was
Republican?
If this was a Republican's son's laptop that had all this dirt on it.
This would have been worldwide news.
People
would have been rioting in the streets, burning shit down.
But since it's a Democrat, whoa, hey, there's no there, everything's just fine. So that is the sad thing, and I can't stress that enough. You have to flip it, and if you flip it and say, well, it's different,
you'd see a totally different response, totally
exactly,
different reaction.
And that's sad.
There are more pictures. There are more pictures of Hunter Biden's genitals online than there are copies of Hillary Clinton's emails.
There you go. Well, no, I heard from somebody, and I don't know if it was you or I heard it from somebody, that in one of the photos on the Hunter Biden laptop.
It was one of my buddies. It was my buddy that we won't say his name, but
okay,
it's my buddy.
Where the one of Obama's daughters.
Yep, I've seen it. She was doing cocaine. She was chopping up cocaine with a credit card,
and you could see her name on the credit card
and her hand because she's black, so you could see she was a black woman's hand.
Yeah.
It was. I've seen a lot of the Hunter Biden laptop pictures, and Donald Trump Jr. actually posted some of them, like the more clean ones that don't have nudity in it.
Yeah.
But he posted a picture on like a holiday. I don't know. It was like 4th of July or some holiday where people are out drinking and having fun. He posted a picture of Hunter Biden like slumped over, passed out from drugs, and he said, "This is how I'm trying to get this 4th of July. Stay safe, guys."
Yeah, I myself personally, there are not too many photos of my credit card being used to chop up cocaine. Yep. I mean, there might be a few out there, but I haven't seen them yet.
Right.
So,
I wanted to ask you about Sleepy Joe. So I refuse to refer to him as President Biden.
I do too.
Yeah.
He's
that's actually the first. What I just said right there. That is the first time those two words have ever come out together.
Sleepy Joe or
no,
Biden and President.
That's the first time just right now that I ever have said that. Yeah. Sleepy Joe. You had to have seen the viral video going everywhere right now of him falling up the stairs.
This is the truth.
Okay.
I have not.
You have not.
I have not. Ask me why.
Why?
Why have you not watched that video, Dad? Well, let me tell you.
Okay. And I have something really interesting to bring to the table on this conversation. Okay. But continue.
The car out there. Okay. But anyways, the reason I have not watched that video, and a buddy of mine sent me the video, the link to it, and he's laughing and dying. You're going to die when you see this video. Oh, that bumbling idiot. You know. The reason I have not watched it is because it's the truth. It's the truth. And I knew it all along that he's an idiot, that he's senile, that he is not qualified to be president.
Dementia.
I knew that all along. So what does me?
You don't need the video to prove
I don't need that video to say, see, this is the proof. No,
I've been saying it.
I already knew the proof, and I knew it all along. Of course, there are people out there that'll watch that video and go, he's such an idiot, and then, Donald Trump is evil.
Yeah.
We need to vote in this. This numbnut.
So there's actually a video going around now. Sean Hannity shared a video from like last year or the year before, past 2 years. I guess there was a video that went around when Trump was president of going down like a railing slowly because it was wet. Yeah. It was wet and it was raining and he was just going down it slowly. He didn't fall, he didn't trip, but he was just going slowly, being careful. And the media, they lambasted him, said that he was, a slow old man and all this stuff. And then Joe Biden piggybacked on that whole media frenzy. And he said, just look at the way that Trump walks downstairs. I run right up the stairs. And now, look at what's happened.
Sure he does. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So let's switch gears because I wanted to ask you what you think about the COVID-19 vaccines. Do you think that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe?
I guess. Needless to say, it was developed under a Republican administration and not a Democrat administration.
So it's more trustworthy.
It's more trustworthy. Definitely.
Project Warp Speed.
Of course.
Which Joe Biden is trying to take credit for.
Oh, of course.
Because before Joe Biden was in office, there was no vaccine. You remember him saying that, which was a total lie.
Oh, yeah. I try not to say the name Joe and Biden together. I don't even think about it. I don't watch the news.
Right.
I'm not on Facebook. Yeah. I'm not on Twitter. I am off the grid because
it can be very overwhelming just because there's so much negativity out there. Oh. It seems like it feels like there's no good news out there. Which I actually want to give a shout out to the Epoch Times or Epoch Times.
I am a subscriber.
Because they are not only a great, admittedly a right-leaning news site and newspaper. They actually have an actual newspaper too. I don't know if you knew that, which is cool.
Yeah.
Old school. I like it. They actually have a section of the Epoch Times that is called Epic Inspired, and it's not political stories. It's stories about positive things that happen in communities and around the country.
That's cool.
And I love that because good news is something that the entire world needs a whole lot more of. But to circle back, like Jen Psaki, her, the press secretary for Biden.
A former Obama employee.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is notorious for not answering the press's questions.
Go figure.
And her common phrase that conservatives are now making fun of her, and it's kind of becoming her nickname or catchphrase, is Jen Circle Back Psaki. Because her common response when somebody says, well, what is President Biden going to do about this? And she'll say, I don't have much information, but I'll circle back. And she says that for every single question that they ask her. So to circle back to COVID-19, do you think that there is any reason that the public should not trust the vaccine when they get it?
That is not my arena.
Okay.
Medical. Historically, I know that in the 20th century, for every vaccine that was created for measles, for polio, for rubella, typhoid, diphtheria, anything, there's always been a percentage that had adverse reactions to it. There has. So there's no really, but those numbers have also been so small that, 3 people are going to die out of 1 million or whatever, 30 people are going to die out of 1 million. Should we not give it to should a polio is cured today? I had a great uncle that had polio.
You did?
I did. My grandma Andrews, her younger brother, Burton.
Really?
Had polio.
He had polio?
He had polio. And his body was disfigured. he lived in a old folks home at a very young age because he had polio. And what is polio?
It's a degenerative physical
muscular disease. You don't have muscle control.
Right.
So he lived in a wheelchair, and obviously, you're hunched over in a wheelchair at a young age. He never married.
Right.
So
your whole life is kind of set on a track for misery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
which isn't to belittle like physically disabled people at all.
Oh no, not at all.
Because
that's a road that I don't want to travel.
Them dudes, one of my good friends is physically disabled. He's in a wheelchair. That dude's one of the coolest motherfuckers I've ever met in my whole life. I don't care. My show, I do what I want. That dude is one of the coolest people I've ever met in my whole life. And he is somebody that has kind of taken his disability and, literally, lived his life and made the best out of it. Yeah. And lives life the way he wants to and does whatever he needs to be happy.
A little side note on polio.
Yeah.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt
had polio.
Yep. But
they hid it from
They hid it. They would, when they're getting him, he would pull up to the train station and, the cameras are going and he's sitting in the car and all of a sudden they'd turn the cameras off and then they'd help him up onto the train.
Yep.
And then, okay, now the cameras can roll again. So would that be done today?
It is being done today with Joe Biden.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. Would that be done today with a Republican president?
Oh, no.
Of course not. But it is done today. Yeah. I'm surprised that the video of him stumbling, fumbling, and bumbling up the stairs there managed to get out.
Oh, yeah.
We need to stop that.
Did you hear about the doctored video of him talking to the press?
No.
So he was somewhere out on like a green lawn, and there was like a small, 3 or 4 reporters, which if it were Trump pulling up to some random place, there'd be like 30 reporters.
Sure.
So that just goes to show nobody even cares.
It's not only that, but those 3 reporters are checked out, and
you got to ask these questions. Yeah. You got to give us your questions ahead of time.
We're going to take your phones if you ask a taboo question.
More people are talking about Joe Biden right now because of that video of him falling, that viral video. More people are talking about him now than they have in the past 2 years. And that's, the quote-unquote most popular president of all time, who is so popular that he got more votes than Barack Obama. When I talk to people now, whether you like Barack or not, let me just get this point out because it is true. You might not like it.
I like Barack.
I'm sure.
I do.
So whether you like this or not, this is true. When I hear people that support Obama talk about him, they talk about him like he's the second coming of Christ. They talk about him like he walks on water. So Obama supporters, they don't just like him. They love Obama. Obama, in terms of being a Democratic frontrunner, had one of the biggest support bases in Democrat history from across the board, okay? Obama, with the Democrats, was a huge name.
And he still is. I don't know why.
But listen, you're telling me that Joe Biden got more votes than Barack Obama.
Well, not only that, but then if you start dissecting those numbers, I guess like in Philadelphia, Joe Biden got a higher percentage. Detroit.
Yep.
Joe Biden got a higher percentage than Obama. So you start crunching those numbers, and it's like, as the phrase I've been using for years, it's okay to lie to me.
Don't lie to yourself.
But don't lie to yourself. Come on. That is so beyond possibility.
Right.
That it's stupid that somebody even suggests it and tries to get it over on me that's the legitimate truth.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know what? This conversation's done.
Yeah.
Because you're lying and you think I'm so stupid that I'm going to believe you.
Yeah.
So right there, it's like, yeah. Stop the steal.
I want to hop up on my soapbox real quick. And I won't take long for this, but it wraps into the COVID thing. It wraps into mask mandates. In Michigan right now, we're seeing our Governor Whitmer, just absolutely. It almost seems like she's trying to destroy our economy, and we are seeing.
She's done a good job.
She's done a great job. To her credit.
Hopefully her husband gets his boat out, though.
Yeah.
He needs to get that boat out.
He needs to get that boat out. Remember, the rules apply to all the little people, but the ones in power, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and their husbands.
Yeah. I could not be the husband of a governor, man. That sounds like a miserable existence. No way. No thank you.
Well, the good thing is she's a Democrat governor, so he gets plenty of leeway. It would be hell to be a Republican husband of a Republican governor.
So in Holland, recently, and I'm talking within the past week, there's a bistro and a pizzeria. It's called Marlena's.
I got to go there.
Marlena's got shut down because they refused to comply with the COVID restrictions that were put in by Governor Whitmer. They wouldn't make people wear masks. They wouldn't have seating restrictions. They let anybody in as they pleased, like before COVID. And the main reason she said that she was doing this was because she thought that the restrictions put on restaurants were unconstitutional and were wrong. And she is actually a Polish immigrant. I don't know if you
I knew that. Yeah.
She is a Polish immigrant that came to this country because she loves America, not because she wanted to exploit it, because she wanted to build something for herself. She did. She built the bistro and the pizzeria. People liked it. People loved it from what I hear in Holland. And it got shut down, and she was arrested this past Friday, I believe, or Thursday. Because on Friday...
She was pulled over.
She was pulled over and then arrested by state police, by the way.
Okay.
She was not arrested by the sheriff of the local township. She was arrested by the state police, if that tells you anything. Because the local sheriff would not have arrested her. He would not have followed that order because it's ridiculous.
But, she's driving down the road and the state police pull over, which means the state police were following her or staking out, looking for her. The same state police that denied the Republican electors into the
voting,
the Capitol, when they wanted to go in as far as casting the ballots, the state police denied them access.
Yeah,
and I have the utmost in respect for the police, and I've historically always not supported anybody that was down on the police.
Right.
It's looking to me like the state police are the enforcement arm of the Democrat Party.
For real.
So that's wrong.
To continue, on Friday, there was Austin Chang, who is a Republican that is running for governor in 2022. He is a black man from, I believe, Nigeria, so he's actually African. And he is another example of somebody coming to America and kind of making a name for themselves. He was there Friday, and there was a group of about 20 or 30 people showing their support.
They're being in Holland.
Out in front of Marlena's Bistro. And then yesterday, which was March 20th, 2021, there was, it looked like about 200 people. It looked like about 200 people outside showing their support for Marlena and showing their distaste for the restrictions put on us by the governor of Michigan and by her whole cabinet or her team. Michigan has some of the most harsh restrictions for COVID out of any state in the United States. And we're seeing a lot of more red states start to open back up. Mm-hmm. Florida's been open back up forever, and Florida is doing just fine. Mm-hmm. Texas has opened back up, and a couple other states in the South have opened up more and more. And here's where I kind of stand on it, is that I'm 23 years old. I'm pretty healthy. I don't really have much health issues to complain about. I don't think I need to wear a mask, honestly. Mm-hmm. Now, if I was 90 and I had, emphysema
and a lifetime smoker,
then I would wear a mask if I went out, and I would try to socially distance from people. I'm not going to ask that 99% of the world who's going to be fine if they get COVID, I'm not going to ask them to put a mask on. I'm not going to ask them to socially distance from me. It's ridiculous. And that might sound callous, it might sound cold for me to say that, because there are so many people that are kind of fighting the COVID virus on the front lines, frontline workers at hospitals and stuff, and they see the worst of it. They see all the worst patients, all these people that are dying from COVID, that are getting COVID. But to shut down the world economy for a virus that does not affect 99.9% of people, it's ridiculous. The survival rate is incredibly high, and it's only getting higher. People are actually getting vaccinated. I believe the other day I saw a number that said 100 million people in the United States have gotten vaccinated. Why do we still need masks? Mm-hmm. Tell me, why do we still need socially distance?
And I can't tell you why. I can give you an opinion.
Okay, which I would like to hear.
Which I think that, and it's not, and I shouldn't even say I think. I know that the virus itself was politicized from essentially the first moment. So it was politicized. So can you get truth out of a subject when it's been politicized? No.
It's hard to.
It's very hard to. So you can look at information and sift it and slice it and dice it and kind of say, well, I think this is what the truth is since it's been politicized. Mm-hmm. But the Democrats, not only did they politicize it, they succeeded.
Oh, yeah.
They won the presidency. They succeeded. But here's why you need to wear the mask.
Okay.
Not only did they succeed in politicizing it, but that success, now they're in control. And I thought, and I think a lot of people thought, that if they did win the presidency, which of course all the mainstream press said Donald Trump's going to get stomped, and he didn't.
He won in a landslide.
Exactly. So, but they've got control.
Oh yeah.
So when you have control, most people don't like to give up control. Mm-hmm. Democrats included. and now, with that control, we're going to crater the economy. Well, I don't care, because, I being them.
Yeah.
They don't care that the economy craters, because then more people are going to get on welfare, which means they need us. They need the government. They need big government.
They need our stimulus checks.
They need that. Yeah. Oh, that stimulus check? Thank you very much. That'll cover the amount of the gallon price per gallon that the gas went up.
That'll pay for my broken windows when Black Lives Matter comes and destroys my business.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, is that all these restrictions on public gatherings apply to everybody except Black Lives Matter and Antifa.
Yeah. But the local church,
the local church can't
do that.
By the way, I'm not going to call them out because I don't want them to get repercussions, but there are a couple churches I know of that have never shut down, that have never followed any of these unconstitutional and unfair rules. And God bless them, because that is one of the most important things, like being able to go to a church and just be surrounded by like-minded Christians and being able to receive the word. It's something that's beautiful, and it's something that should not be infringed upon, especially when large groups of people are allowed to get together and destroy the city and burn the city down. It's ridiculous. And I want to say this. I want to say this very badly, because I've had some people I know, and they might be listening right now. And if you're listening, here's my statement to you in terms of me being a Trump supporter, me being a conservative, my opinion on Black Lives Matter. And I shouldn't even have to say this. This is just a thing that sane people say. I love human beings who love humanity. I wear a MAGA hat, and initially wore a MAGA hat for the first time back around 2015, 2016. I didn't even care about politics. I just wanted to see if I would get treated differently by people. It was a social experiment. I was young and I wanted to see what would happen, and I'll tell you what happened. People slammed doors in my face. People would walk up to me and say, "Fuck you, you're a piece of shit," as they're walking by, like, "Fuck you, faggot." Like, they'd say that to me. They would say that to my face just because I was wearing a MAGA hat. They don't know me. They don't know the life experiences I have. They don't know that I'm in love with music and I'm passionate about all these different things in life. They don't want to know about me. They want to boil me down to this almost like substandard human. Okay, which is the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany. It's the same thing that happened in communist Russia. They take a class of people and you make them appear to be less human. Oh, yeah. And that's what they're trying to do now with conservatives. Sure. They're trying to make conservatives and Trump supporters seem less human.
And then it's okay to burn their house.
It's okay to shut down their bank accounts. It's okay to fire them from your jobs. It's okay to unperson them.
It's okay to put the IRS on them and have them audited. There was a guy, a businessman. I think he was like in the cattle industry or something like that, out in like Idaho. And this was like in 2012 when Mitt Romney was running for president.
Okay, which Mitt Romney is not beloved by conservatives.
But then I voted for Mitt Romney.
Right.
I admit it.
I would have too.
I did, and I, of course, the way he turned out and went totally against Donald Trump.
And Paul Ryan.
And Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
And John McCain. I voted for John McCain. I voted for those guys.
I never understood why people didn't like Sarah Palin that much. I didn't think she was that bad. I've watched a lot of her videos and her speeches and her interviews, and I think she just got unfairly crucified in the media.
She was a conservative woman.
Yeah.
That's evil.
I don't
That's
think
evil.
she was that crazy or that out of line. I think she was pretty solid. Honestly, out of all of them, like Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, John McCain, I think Sarah Palin was the most reasonable.
Let me say something that you haven't heard anybody say.
Okay.
I'd stack Sarah Palin up against the vice president any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put money on that debate.
Oh, yeah.
Any day of the week.
Kamala Harris and
the cackling Kamala Harris.
The wicked witch of...
Yeah. Jesus Christ. But anyways.
What a wicked woman. Anyway.
A businessman slept her way to the top. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I think, what was it, like Al Sharpton called her like a high-class call girl one time? I swear to God, that's like a real thing.
I would like to see that quote.
It's out there. Okay. I was like, I need to fact-check that, but I was like, no way.
Yeah. It's the truth.
Out of all people to have Al Sharpton call.
Yeah. Wait a minute. She's a Democrat.
Yeah, that's how you know you're doing.
Retract
how you know you're doing something wrong, is if you're a Democrat and you get called out by Al Sharpton.
Yeah. Well, it's like the governor of New York. They're on his case, and it's like, why are you guys going after the governor of New York for all his improprieties? Yeah. Wait a minute. Donald Trump, he's gone. We need somebody to attack.
They are attacking Cuomo because he's a scapegoat. They can get away with all this other shit if they take the attention off of all these other scandals that are starting to pop up.
Good point.
And focus on Andrew Cuomo.
Good point. Let's drag it out.
Let's sink one of our own. He's the sacrificial lamb.
And not only that,
he's the sacrificial lamb.
The lieutenant governor is a Democrat.
Yeah.
So...
And
we'll have a Democrat there anyways.
I mean, Whitmer...
Let me finish. Let me finish on the businessman.
There's so much to talk about.
There is.
Go ahead.
This businessman, a big wheeler dealer. Well, it comes out, and I shouldn't even say how it came out, but he donated like $50,000 to the Mitt Romney presidential campaign.
Yep.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a businessman.
It's a political contribution.
It comes out, and I don't know if he did it like under the table. I just want to donate $50,000, or he publicized it or whatever. But I don't think he publicized it. But he put it on his tax records or something. Well, somebody at the IRS leaks it to the press. This guy over here donated $50,000. Well, guess what? The IRS audits him. Okay.
Okay.
Well, when you're this big businessman and the IRS audits you, you need to have your accountants, you need to pay this money, and you need to go and make appointments and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. So, 6 or 9 months later, the IRS audits him.
Right.
Again. 6 or 9 months later, the IRS audits him. Again. So, and I think he was audited a total of 3 times within a year and a half or a 2-year period.
Which is discrimination, it's persecution, it's obvious.
Big time persecution. But the thing is you could say, well, the chances, he's a big businessman. He said, prior to me donating $50,000 to Mitt Romney, I was never audited.
Right.
And all of a sudden in a 2-year period, I'm audited 3 times.
Left and right.
So right there. That's one of those ones where after I'm audited the 3rd time and the FBI or the IRS comes knocking on my door and saying, hey, guess what? We're auditing you again. It's like, you know what? I got a fleet of pit bulls outside that in about 10 seconds, I'm letting them go.
Yeah.
And guess what? Before you showed up for the last 6 months, I've been training my pit bulls. We got a clothesline out in the back with 3-piece suits.
Yep.
Of dummies dressed in 3-piece suits, and I've trained these pit bulls to rip the crotches out of them. and in 10 seconds, I'm letting them go. And trust me, you ain't gonna make it to the car, dude. So just that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, but that's okay. That's okay to do that because they're evil Republicans.
Yep.
That's okay.
I want to make this point. So let me get this out. I need to get this out for anyone who's confused. I have had one of the most common things they can do to try to unperson you is call you a racist. I have been called a racist in the past year so many times.
Because of the MAGA hat?
Yeah, because of the MAGA hat, because of things that I believe about the white and the black dynamic. And you can't deny that there is a void between the black and the white communities in America. I would argue that it is one of the biggest problems that we face. And the only way we can get over that is to realize that we are all human beings with different opinions, and that our different opinions are what makes us unique. It's what makes us individuals. It's what makes us people. I am all for unity of everyone in America coming together. I love blacks, whites, Asians, whatever. People call me racist. They don't know that I was over in Japan and that I was denied service at Japanese shops because I was white. They don't know that, some of my best friends, I gotta be careful how I say this, in my line of employment, some of my best friends, as I've traveled, have been black. Like, they see a MAGA hat and they're like, this guy, and I love black music too. You know how much I like rap music, and it drives you crazy. You're like, how can you listen to this garbage? And I'm like, this is awesome. Kanye West, one of my biggest inspirations. You know why I like Kanye so much? Is because he proved that you can break out of your pigeonhole. To everybody for the longest time, he was a rapper. And that was it. That's all Kanye was. But then he proved that he could design shoes that would sell out in seconds. He could make a clothing line that people would line up across the street to buy. He proved that he could jump into other areas and still be successful. And he proved that as a black man, he did not have to subscribe to the same diatribe of thought that every black famous person has to drink the Kool-Aid of. He didn't have to be a Democrat. He didn't have to say these things or do these things. When Kanye wore the MAGA hat, he kind of did it for the same reason that I did it initially, is because he wanted to see what would happen. And what happened? The media crucified him. They tried to, investors pulled out of his company. He was threatened by Adidas, who he has his shoe company deal with. Everybody came after him, all guns blazing, and they proved his point right. They proved him right. When the people listening here that hate my guts, there's people out there that are going to call me racist and say, I hate black people, you hate this. I don't really try to hate anyone. I try to understand that every community of people has problems. I have met some of the trashiest white people that you would not believe. I'm talking white trash to the 1000th degree. Michigan has that in groves. But Michigan also has communities full of black people that kill each other, that sell drugs to each other, that do violent crimes against each other, and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Black on black crime is one of the biggest problems in our country. It is. And it's in the fact that nobody wants to talk about that. Why would I talk or care about black on black crime if I hated black people? Why would I do that? I always tell people about black on black crime, not because I'm trying to disprove that it's wrong, not because I'm trying.
It's wrong because it's crime.
I'm not, but listen, when I talk about black on black crime, they say that I'm using that to kind of disprove that there's white on black hatred and white on black crime. It's not. What I am doing is I'm trying to make these people understand that there's not just one issue. There's 100 different issues, and you cannot address them alone. You have to address them together. And the same people that say that I hate black people because they're black, that's impossible. I mean, it makes no sense to me, because there's just as many.
It's a cop-out answer.
There's just as many black people that hate whites for being white as there are white people that hate blacks for being black.
Sure.
And you need to recognize that there is
but that's different.
There is a problem on both sides of the racial divide. We are the human race, for God's sake. We are one human race, okay? You have people out there like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Jay-Z, Beyonce, that are Oprah, that are black billionaires. Not millionaires. Billionaires with a B. You have Oprah going on to 35 million viewers, a billionaire, saying that she understands what it's like to be persecuted and have a hard time being black in America, and it's harder for them to succeed, and it's hard. You have a woman who's sitting on a mountain of cash, and she's telling you that white people make it hard to succeed. You have Jay-Z, who makes entire albums about trashing white people, and guess who most of the people that buy his music are? They're white.
Smart white?
No, obviously not.
Dumb white.
That blows my mind that so many rappers are successful because of their white fan bases, and they make whole albums talking shit about white people, and yet they still line up to listen to it. It's like, what? I don't understand that. Kendrick Lamar, one of the biggest rappers in the world, he had a sold-out show, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, right? The entire crowd was white. Literally, I mean, it looked like a sea of mayonnaise. It was white, okay? He calls a girl up to rap one of his songs. And of course, he says the N-word 10,000 times in the song, and so she's rapping the song, saying the N-word, and he stops the show. And he says, whoa, 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 you can't do that. And he kind of belittles her in front of tens of thousands of people, and she's a fan of his. And it's like, what do you expect, dude? You get me up to rap the song, I'm going to rap the song. You told me to. I thought we were all cool. Now, I will say there are some cool artists out there in the rap game.
Did those people leave?
What do you mean?
At that concert?
What do you mean? No, they were booing her. They were booing her.
They were booing her?
They were booing her.
They booed him.
They were booing her. I went to 2 shows. There are 2 artists I want to say specifically.
If I'm up there and they're booing me, 2 middle fingers go up, and it's like,
absolutely.
Screw
You know what's really cool? There are 2 artists I want to give props to. Tyler, the Creator, and Travis Scott. I've seen both of them live, and they have songs that say the N-word quite a lot. And Travis Scott's crazy, man. He'll just jump right in the crowd, like he'll crowd dive, and then he'll just hand the fan a microphone, and they'll rap it. And, the fans, he says the N-word a lot, so the fans will be white, and they'll rap the N-word, and he's just there vibing along with them, smiling, jumping up and down, having a good time, and he doesn't care. Same with Tyler, the Creator, has done that, They'll hand their microphone to a white fan to rap their song. The white fan will rap the song with the N-word, and they won't care, and they'll just be there having a good time with them. It's music, man. Music is meant to unite, not divide. Mm-hmm. Like it blows my mind how out of control the racial tensions and the racial situations have gotten. And if we could do stuff more like that, where we just have fun and don't care about it, it's a stupid word that's been around for hundreds of years. Like, why do we allow it to have this much power? Like, then we could actually make a change. We could actually make a difference.
Ain't gonna happen in my lifetime.
So, what is the next step then for election integrity? Because I wanted to talk about Dominion voting systems too. What is your take on Dominion voting systems? And can you kind of explain maybe what Dominion is?
I don't know a lot about it. I know that it's Dominion, I believe, is a company that provides a computer that counts ballots. I know that Antrim County in Michigan, which is up halfway between here and Traverse City kind of a thing, Antrim County had a situation where there was like 4,000 votes that were flipped away from Donald Trump. Joe Biden actually won the county the original count.
Yeah.
Joe Biden had like 14,000 votes, and I'm wrong in these numbers,
right.
But Joe Biden had like 14,000 votes, and Donald Trump had like 8,000.
Yep.
And then somebody was like, wait a minute, Antrim County always goes Republican. Let's look at that again. Well, then all of a sudden, they redid it. And I guess what happened is when it counts a ballot, and you can adjust, like any machine, you can adjust it
and tweak it
to react certain ways to certain situations. So, if per the rules, when you put the X in the box, if the X is overlapping the box a little bit too far,
yep,
then it's going to go to human review. It's not going to count. It's going to go to human review. Well, guess what? If you've got a Democrat that's the human that's reviewing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not counted. Either that Trump vote is not counted, or that X actually, the line actually extended down to where it's kind of in the Democrat box a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so that's a Democrat vote. So and then all of a sudden they redid the evaluation criteria and they counted the votes again. Then all of a sudden Donald Trump wins by like 6,000 votes or something. Mm-hmm. So
some of the hardest things to find now on the internet are the things that were from like November 3rd, November 4th, and November 5th about the poll numbers not poll numbers, but the vote count, because they were still counting the votes, and they had these charts that would show the irregularities
the spikes.
Of the spikes.
Oh,
the
yeah.
spikes in vote counts. And that's hard to find now because they've buried it down the memory hole.
Sure.
You know what else is hard to find? And it's interesting because it's hard to find, but it's actually...
An honest Democrat.
Well, listen. Yeah, that. But there's video.
No such thing.
There's so many videos of people who worked the vote counting stations, right? And there's literally videos of guys going, all right, so I work here, blah, blah, blah. Here's the process. Here's what we have to do. This one's for Donald Trump. And then they rip it up and throw it. This one's for Biden. Put that in the machine. This one's for Trump. And he shows it to the camera and then throws it in the little wastebasket.
Fortunately, I never seen that.
There are lots of videos like that. And guess what? Those all got taken down.
Oh, of course.
Because even though it's what they want, they don't want you to see it.
Oh, no.
They don't want you to know that that was happening. But I saw those.
Yeah.
So the two hardest things to find now because of big tech censorship are the spikes in the voting counts from like the first 3 days of the election when they were counting the votes still, and all those videos of people who worked the ballot counts ripping up the mail-in ballots.
Or the pizza boxes at the Detroit.
Where they were putting up cardboard on
Pizza
the windows.
Boxes?
Yeah, on the windows so
What
that
do you-
people couldn't see.
Now, call me an idiot. Call me
You're an idiot.
stupid.
You're stupid.
But if I'm on the opposite side of the glass and somebody's putting up pizza boxes to prevent me from even seeing, I'm not even in the same room.
Right.
But if somebody's putting up pizza boxes to prevent me from even looking in the room, there's a problem there.
Yeah. What are you hiding?
There's a problem there.
What are you hiding?
Now, let me just drop a name. And actually, Huizinga, I think his name is.
He's a piece of shit.
Well, why is it that I think the same thing? I wrote him a letter.
He voted...
He
did not
voted-
support Donald Trump.
You are correct.
He did not support Donald Trump when it came to overturning the election results. He said there was no reason to believe that there was any fraud. Same with Meyer. Meyer, what's his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in Michigan, there's a big store called Meyer, and it's kind of spreading throughout the Midwest. And one of the family members has kind of put his hat in the ringer.
He is a congressman.
What's his first name? Congressman Meyer.
It doesn't matter.
So he actually has thrown his ring into the political arena, and he's already proving to be a piece of shit.
And a Republican.
He's not a Republican.
I think
he says he's a Republican.
I think there's an R next to his name, if I'm not mistaken.
We got to get these.
Just like Huizinga, though.
Yeah,
Huizinga.
Rhinos.
I wrote a letter to Huizinga, and I said, excuse me, I wrote two letters. The first letters that I have ever, and actually, emails.
Right.
But I wrote an email, the first two emails / letters that I've ever written to any politician in my life.
Yep.
In my life. The first letter I wrote, email that
to
I wrote.
Huizinga.
No, the first one I wrote was to a guy named McBroom. Ed McBroom. Why did I write Ed McBroom? And he's a Michigan state senator.
Okay.
Not a federal senator, a Michigan state senator. He was on the board of review concerning voting improprieties in the presidential election.
Okay.
He ran this review board. There were some Democrats up there which were true scumbags, and I won't even mention their names, but this Ed McBroom ran it, and I remembered the name, a very distinctive name. He's from like Iron Mountain. He's a Michigan state senator up there. And I wrote him a letter, and I said, and my concern was, these Senate hearings, Michigan State Senate hearings, of people, of witnesses, poll workers, telling their horror stories, and it tears your heart out listening to these stories of these people that are witnessing these, and it's not, it's not an impropriety. It's lying. They're witnessing of people lying, cheating, and stealing. And this went into hours, tens of hours, dozens of hours.
Voter fraud.
Hundreds of hours.
You're talking about voter fraud.
Yes. The hearings were dedicated exclusively to that.
And when did this happen?
This was right after the election.
Right after the election.
This is days after the election. They
December or November.
November
of 2020.
And I watched, 10, 15, 20 hours of different witnesses.
Wow.
And I remember there was one lady, she was from India. She's an immigrant, and her last name was 17 letters long.
Yeah.
Like colon, and it started with a K, like colon Gretty.
Yeah.
was her name, and I can't Hema Kolingreddy or something like that. I can't remember what
Most
her first
Indian
name was.
name ever.
Very Indian.
Anyway.
But she's just going on, and I mean the stuff that she was saying, it chills. An American being an American citizen, it chilled my blood.
Yeah.
So Ed McBroom is overseeing this, and I wrote him a letter, and I said, Ed, here's these people that are saying, that they're a witness. They are an impartial observer.
Yep.
Okay, I'm an impartial observer down in Detroit at I think it's the TCF Center is what the name of that place is. But I'm an impartial observer, and I observe something that's a problem, and I'm kicked out of the room.
Yeah.
Escorted by police.
I'm doing my job.
I'm escorted out of the room. Okay, so and then a second person sees an impropriety and is escorted from the room. And the third person is escorted from the room. Well, not only escorted, but then the people inside the room that you're monitoring are standing up and clapping as the police are kicking them out of the room. Sometimes in handcuffs. So, at what point do I want to go back and be a witness, be a monitor to future vote counts, and be escorted from the room in handcuffs?
Yep.
And of course, being the person that I am, I'm just not going to hold my arms out and say, cuff me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be saying some stuff.
Yep.
So at what point is that a fair process? And at what point, when the 100th person steps up and says, that person right there is cheating? Is it at that point that maybe the locks come down and the windows close and you know what? We can't allow these votes anymore because there's been too much cheating. At what point is the threshold reached of there was too much cheating here? And I asked him that question, and he sent me a letter back, and he said that, to his credit, he sent me a letter back and he said, we are still going through the review process of all the stuff, all the testimony that we heard, and we're working on passing some new rules and legislation to ensure the integrity of the Michigan vote process.
That's a very political answer. That's a politician answer.
But their intention is to attempt to improve it. So right now, again, I'm not a person that does Twitter. I'm not a person that does Facebook.
Right.
I don't do any of that social media. But if I did, the big thing that I would say is I don't vote anymore because 10 dead people in Detroit always cancel my vote.
Right. Absolutely.
So
you would be amazed at how many people I've asked in the past couple months, do you think your vote counts? Do you vote? I know a lot of people that just don't vote because they don't trust it and they never have. And that's an issue.
Well, I always have.
When you have
until 2020.
When you have a big section of your population that has never voted because they've never believed their vote to matter, that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
That's one of the first steps down the road to communism.
Yep.
Is to disenfranchise the opposition.
And they are willingly choosing not to vote because they don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're wrong for doing that. I'm saying it's wrong that they have a reason to believe that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's wrong that they have a reason to believe that. It's wrong that there are people out there stealing the vote.
Yes.
It's wrong that those people that are stealing the vote face no repercussions. It's wrong that the media covering it has no problem with that.
Yep.
As long as the media. And I've told guys that I work with who support the Democrats, I've told them, you need to have a problem with that because at some point the pendulum swings the other way.
Yep.
And when Republicans are over there stealing the vote, you're not going to like that. And it's not, you won't be able to steal the vote forever. But I might be wrong there. Once you steal the vote and you get enough people in there that are counting the votes in perpetually,
right.
You can steal it forever.
Absolutely. I want to say this. It's amazing to me, and this might sound like really superficial, but part of being president is not even your policies. It's not even your how you conduct the government or your decisions. It's just kind of your personality. Mm-hmm. Like people say, it shouldn't matter, but it does. Your appearance, your personality.
You're the head of the state.
Really matters as president.
Yeah.
And Trump, man, I've been going on a tangent of listening to like Donald Trump's sound bites. Donald Trump has some of the best sound bites.
He was the man
in the history of U.S. politics. And Joe Biden is so lackluster and weak. I've been going on some of.
He's a dunce cap.
I've been rewatching some of Trump's best speeches. His Mount Rushmore speech from 2019 or 2020. 2020. He did a speech at Mount Rushmore. Amazing. His January 6th speech before the riot. His Muskegon rally I watched on the whole thing. Amazing. And he talks about the problems in Michigan. Wherever he goes, he's such a knowledgeable guy because whatever state he's in, he's talking about issues that are pertinent to that state.
One of the great Donald Trump quotes about Michigan was, and I believe it was in 2016 when he was running as a candidate, and he said, what was it? It used to be, he was in Flint.
Okay.
I think he was in Flint, and he was, the water problem there. And he said, people, what did he say? People used to get their water in Flint used to get their cars in Flint and water in Mexico or something, and he flipped it around.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember exactly what it was.
I remember you told me about that before.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But no, it was the same thing when Ronald Reagan
one of the all-time Republican greats, just great presidents in general,
and just a great,
and even the Democrats liked him.
Exactly.
Not all, but
that was then. That was different.
Yeah, even the Democrats liked him and got along with him.
That was a different time. And it was a different place. But there was one time where Ronald Reagan was at a press conference and the mics are all set up and he's sitting there and they're testing 1 2 whatever, and just to kind of get a voice check, okay, say something, and so Ronald Reagan, he's standing there and he goes. I have just passed legislation that Russia is outlawed. Bombing begins in 5 minutes. Well, even then, the liberal media, they're all losing their minds. He can't say that. He can't say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
One of the best things, because, Ronald Reagan had that assassination attempt on him.
Yeah.
It was a couple months after. He was in, Germany. And a balloon, there was, a big balloon that, popped. And he was right in the middle of a speech, right in the stride of a speech. And the balloon popped. And he kind of jumped a little bit and paused. And he was like, "Miss me." And then he kept going. And the audience lost their mind. They were clapping, cheering. They absolutely loved it.
What a great guy.
I wanted to say this. So talking about election fraud, there was a Time magazine article that came out that basically confirmed. I don't know if you've heard about this. It was a big article, and it's still. I don't have the exact name. Unprofessional of me, of course. But this article was a big, long article, and it talked about how they didn't steal the election. They fortified the election to make sure that Donald Trump couldn't steal it. So they basically said, we made sure that we got Democrat ballot counters, Democrat organizers to put together all the different counting areas and where people are voting. We fortified the election, quote unquote. We didn't steal it. There's no election fraud. We fortified it.
Yeah. And, to that person, that's one of those people that...
So, they're admitting it to everybody's face. This Time magazine article blew up. And...
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. Because they're, a person like that... let me give a little... historical note to that.
Okay.
A person like that says we fortified the election. In France, in World War II, the Germans invaded France, and they occupied Paris, and they occupied about half of France. France at that time, I believe, had I think it was the third largest navy in the world. Great Britain had the largest navy. I believe America had the second largest. I think so. I think France had this significant navy. Well, everybody's worried when the Germans rolled in, because it's like, if the Germans get a hold of the French navy,
right,
we're screwed. We are so screwed. So the French are surrendering, but part of the goal was to keep the French Navy out of the hands of the Germans. So the French Navy is in several ports in the Mediterranean.
Yep.
And there's negotiations going on. And the head of the French Navy, his name was Admiral Darlan.
Okay. I don't know any of this, by the way.
Okay. Admiral Darlan, well, the guy that went on to use to fight with the Free French forces was Charles de Gaulle, who later became the president of France and rose to, he was the George Washington of France.
Okay.
He was that big. Well, Admiral Darlan, and Charles de Gaulle was the head of the army, and Admiral Darlan was the head of the navy, just as big as de Gaulle. But Darlan wasn't sure who was going to win World War II, so he really didn't want to piss the Germans off because they might win.
So he's playing both sides.
He's playing both sides, and he played both sides excellently.
Yeah.
Okay? And he just kind of, which way's the flag blown? Which way's the wind blown?
Yeah. Who's going to be the winner? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you're looking a little better.
You're looking stronger today.
Yeah.
So, Admiral Darlan, I think it was like 1944 when, then there's D-Day and that whole thing. And Admiral Darlan, he died. How did he die? How did he die? He's out in his garden hoeing the turnips one day, and a French citizen's walking down the alley and sees him out there and walks up behind him and pops him in the back of the head with a pistol.
Okay.
So that's how Admiral Darlan died.
Yep.
So and he got the death that he deserved for what he did for France. So that person that says we fortified the election, that's what I think of that person. We fortified the election.
Yeah.
Fortified? Yeah.
You pissed and shit all over our democracy is what you did.
Yeah, keep an eye out when you're out there hoeing in the garden there. That would be justice.
You would think that there is this, and I want to say that this isn't true, but if you look on popular media, news media, social media, you would think that there is no support for conservatism. You would think there's no support.
It takes effort.
You would think there's no support, but there is. And it's so hard to find that now because in the modern age we live in, everything is done on the internet. Everything is connected through the internet. And on the internet, it's very hard to be a conservative voice and be successful and have a reach to people. And these big tech companies purposefully put things in their algorithms for search results. They alter and doctor the search results when you search for something. When I search for a song, it pops up immediately. There's that exact song I was looking for. When I search for a specific Trump moment or a Trump speech, I have to scroll down to like the 4th page to find it. Mm-hmm. They purposefully doctor these results to kind of try to steer people away or steer people towards what they want them to be. But I'm going to say there is a huge movement for conservatism, for the MAGA movement, for the Trump supporters, and it is it's growing and it's only getting bigger. Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't believe that. You wouldn't think that.
Sure.
So.
Oh yeah, which is why I use for search engines. I don't use Google.
Yeah.
Google is owned by a Democrat. I use Bing.
Do you know DuckDuckGo?
I've heard of it.
That's a new one that's kind of popping up because what's his name? Bill Gates is a piece of shit too. Mm-hmm. He's wild, man. Have you heard some of the stuff that he's gone off on recently?
Well, but you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire and you're a Democrat. You can say whatever you want.
Exactly. So I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Let me one quick story.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll end it on your story. We are actually approaching our longest show ever, I believe.
Oh boy,
we're almost to 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Okay,
so which is awesome.
Okay, quick story. This is when you were in boot camp, and we went out to visit you, and you had your liberty for a day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're at that movie theater. And do you remember the movie?
Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane.
And I see the poster over there on the wall, which is what reminded me of it.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
And it has that specific memory for me because I remember, and just really quickly, keep your thing in thought, but I wanted to go see Deadpool, which is a Marvel movie, but it was sold out because it had just come out. Yeah. And so you said to me, let's go see Cloverfield 2. And I'm thinking to myself, Cloverfield 2? That sounds horrible.
Sequels always suck.
Yeah, well, the first movie was kind of So I'm like, Cloverfield 2, really? And you're like, I heard it was really good. And I'm like, okay, Cloverfield 2 is going to be a good movie.
Well, then, do you remember when we walked into the studio? What happened?
I do. There was this humongous theater. It was honestly, it's one of the biggest theaters I've ever effing seen in my life. There was like 10,000 seats in this theater, and it was empty except there was a couple all the way at the top, and they were sitting together.
Like right under the last row, centered right under the view, the projection.
So we have a million seats to choose from, except two.
Except two.
And what did you do?
So I tell Cameron, come up there with me, and you sit on the side, on the far side, right next to the girl, and I'll sit right next to the guy. Just follow me. And
I was in full dress blues.
Yeah. So Cameron sits next to the girl. I sit next to the guy in this big empty studio, in this big empty theater. I just keep saying studio. This big empty theater. We sit down, and they kind of look at us, which, like anybody will look at us, like, you got a big theater here, and you're sitting right next to,
We're sandwiching them.
So we sit down, and we kind of look at them, and they're looking at us. And then I told the guy, I said, I always wanted to do that.
I just had to do it.
And we're laughing, and they're laughing, and then we get up, and they were like, no, go ahead and sit here. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point was just to do it, just to kind of
mess with you,
rattle their cage.
Have fun.
And it was cool.
And the movie was effing awesome. Way better than the original. Like, it's not often that the sequel is better than the movie, but I mean, to take a cheap, cheesy horror, like, monster movie, the original was, and then make it like a thriller, suspense, and then
it had a little of everything.
It was such a great movie. That is honestly one of my favorite suspense and thriller movies of all time. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Go check it out. I don't know what that had to do with anything we were talking about.
I don't either. I seen the poster over on the wall.
Awesome. So, we're back, baby. That was awesome. Thank you for... let's get a slap in for effect. There you go. Right. That's our handshake. Thank you for doing this. This is fun. And I'm sure... if this gets any response, I'm sure it'll be all positive. There'll be no negative response to this podcast.
Well, unless a Democrat happens to listen. So.
And just for historical value, we recorded this on Sunday, March 21st, 2001.
2021.
Or 2021. 2001? What am I smoking, man? All right. This is the Cam and Chris...
Let's do the time warp again.
Cam and Chris podcast, number 6. Pray for Wolves. Thank you for listening.
Number 7's just around the corner.
Just around the corner in 3 years when we decide to do another one. God bless everybody.